So I am Jen. I am trans. And, yeah. Okay, I'm done. I just want to say one quick thing. The term identify as trans. You know, no one can agree on anything in the LGBTQIA community. I'm just going to say queer from now on. And one of the things they don't agree on is the term identify. I identify as a Star Trek fan, the original, by the way, and Next Generation. I identify as a Phillies fan, as you can see as my fanatic earrings. But who I am is different than who I say I am, or who I identify as. It's subtle, but you see that? Like, you can identify as a Republican, Democrat, whatever, but who you are as a person could be different. How do you know you're a man? If there are any men-identified people in here, how do you know? I don't know, you've been sitting here a long time, and you gotta listen to me. How do you know you're a man?
Do you feel that way?
You feel that way. What do you feel? What does it feel like to be a man?
Any man.
I didn't hear you. Sorry. I didn't hear you.
I said I don't know.
I didn't know. All right. So how does how does it feel to be a man? How do you know what characteristics are a man? Like you think of being a guy. What makes you a guy?
You're not good at arguing.
You're not good at arguing with your significant others.
Not good at winning.
Yeah.
Not as good as winning. Okay. Anything else?
Have to control the remote control.
Have to control them.
You're deaf when the game is on.
When the game is on. Okay.
That's just how I've always felt.
It's just how you've always felt. So what does it feel like, though? What's behind the feeling? Like, what does it feel like to be a guy? You just sort of know, right? But how do you sort of know? I bet no one has ever thought about that. How do you know you're a woman-identified person? How much time do I have, by the way?
We were behind. Let's make it 15. Can you guys stay at least for 15? Because we're five. We'll be 10 minutes over. If that's
Thanks.
okay. Yeah.
All right. So, any women
I like my
identified?
boobs.
You like your boobs.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Hey.
I like mine too. They are real, by the way. I've had people, strangers, come up to me on the street and ask if my boobs were real. It's one of those none of your business questions. The most famous question I get, as was just mentioned, like as soon as people know I'm trans, the first question is, have you had the surgery? I just kind of look at him and say, what's in your pants? Are you lesbian because you were married for 23 years to a woman? Anyway, so we can't answer these questions. What does it feel like to be man, woman, or however you choose to know that you are? Traditional male characteristics, tough, protector, provider, are really no longer traditionally male, whatever that means. Female, nurturing, kind, never get mad. I was being silly on that. So the characteristics of how we know who we are, we just know, damn it. Oops, sorry. We just know. So I love that you said it's not a choice. I didn't choose to be trans. I just know that I am. I didn't know for 45 years, by the way. But that's a long story. So I'm glad that 92% of the people this last decade feel more accepted. Hate crimes are definitely on the rise. 9 trans women of color have been murdered in just the last 2.5 weeks in our country. I don't know what it is about trans people. We somehow threaten people more. I don't know what it is. They fetishize us. They think it's a perversion, and it's really not. I identify as asexual, by the way, so I don't give a darn about sex. I almost swore it again, but I didn't. So, as far as trans youth, there was a survey done last year. 1 in 3 trans youth attempt suicide. And over 74% of LGBT people, young adults, have tried suicide in this country, which is staggeringly higher than the sad number of cisgender teens. And the homeless, I'm glad you brought that up, homelessness rate. And the 3 factors that can bring those numbers down have been proven across the board, study after study. Accept your darn kid in your family. Now, I don't mean just, hey, you're gay, cool, but support them, advocate for them in their schools. The more families accept those kids, better their chances of living. The more their schools accept them and can use whatever bathroom they need, more chances that kid's gonna live. Kids whose churches and places of worship accept them have more of a chance to live. I hate to say this, but it's true. 99.9% of the discrimination, hate, bigotry, fear against people like me come from quote-unquote religious institutions. That's sadly the fact. So, anyway, I just want to say, so I mentioned that I was 45. I grew up in a wackadoodle house, and I was assigned male at birth because of my particular genitals. You know, someone just, popped out. It's a boy, it's got a penis. But I'm glad you brought up intersex, because that is not always true. There are quote-unquote women with penises. There are guys with vaginas. And if you just identify by your body part, that's just kind of silly. But that's kind of how it's done. So throughout my life, I thought I was male. And I won't get into it because it is really a bad story in terms of why I identified as male for so long. There was a lot of abuse and yucky stuff because I was this effeminate kid, and that threatened the hell out of my family. And so they did all kinds of really twisted things to make a man out of me. And it kind of worked for a while until it didn't. And I was married for 23 years, as I mentioned. My wife and I are now divorced. However, the only reason we're divorced is because she wants to date men, and I can't help her. We are best of friends. She's my biggest ally. We have 3 grown sons, 22, 21, and 18, and they all call me the other mom. They totally accept me, which is the most amazing thing ever. There are many trans women who come out early or late, especially as parents, and their kids won't ever speak to them again. I have many family members that don't speak to me anymore. I wasn't allowed to go to my dad's funeral, for example. My dad didn't speak to me the last 9 months of his life. And that's hard, that hurts. However, what the hell can you do? I could bug them and bug them and bug them. Do you mind if I put that there?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I could bug them about it, but at some point, it just hurts too much. And so I have a family of choice, chosen family, people who love and accept me. I go to a queer church, which is the same place Saga Sexuality and Gender Acceptance Community Center is held. We're not a part of that church, but they let us use that building rent-free. But it is a UCC church that I can go to and feel safe. Glad you brought up the bathrooms. I've been harassed in men's rooms and women's rooms. I'm the kind of trans person who rarely wears makeup. I can't afford to cover up my 5 o'clock shadow. I'm just a damn hairy Italian woman. So I can try to put makeup on in coverage, but by like 4 o'clock, my 5 o'clock shadow's out and I look sort of green. So I don't even bother. Some days I don't even shave. Oh my God! I haven't feminized my voice, whatever the hell happens. I've been told I don't walk like a woman. I don't know. I don't know how you're all supposed to walk, ladies. But I guess I don't. There's a lot of gatekeeping in the trans community, unfortunately, and in the queer community in general. I've been told I'm not trans enough, gotta trim my eyebrows a little more. And I'm just who I am. I love my singing voice. As was mentioned, I sing a lot and do gigs and stuff, and I didn't want to mess with my voice. Because sometimes when you try to transition your voice, it can mess with your singing voice, and I ain't interested in that. I like my voice. So I say all that to say, there are people who'll say, you're not gay enough, you can't be bi if you're married. I'm one of those people who don't consider gender as a binary, men way over there, women way over there, and they meet around that. I consider it a galaxy. Because who the heck knows? And there's no finish line. Tell me when I need to stop, love?
No, I got you. I got you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could talk all day, obviously.
Yes.
So, I'm glad PECO does what it does. The average workplace in a study done just a few months ago is 45% of workers resent working with people like me. They won't say anything, but they do. Imagine going to work and people just, most people aren't clairvoyant, I mean, as far as I know. But they're all clairsentient. We all can sense the vibe. You know, if you're getting that look, or if you can walk into a room and go, oh, damn, this ain't good. So I'm glad that PECO does this. I'm glad that you arrange things like this. I am a walking activist by my very existence, because when I walk out of my house, what the hell do you think? Boy, girl? I've had little kids at Wawa say, are you a boy or a girl? And I go, yeah. And the parents are like, shh. Because I'm kind of ambiguous in how I present. My gender expression can be sort of non-binary. I just, whatever the hell I wear, I wear. I lean towards flowy hippie stuff. What can I say? But as a trans woman, I've had death threats. I've had people leave notes on my car, you freak. I've had people tell me that in person. I've had people follow me on the streets, yelling at me. I've been harassed in restaurants. Been unemployed for the better part of 3 years, because no one wants to hire a 51-year-old trans woman, especially one that doesn't look like a woman, whatever the hell that means. And trans women that like to pass, which means they like to look more like Cause magazine and Vogue. They're trans women that you would never know are trans, and that is awesome. For them, that's important for their dysphoria. I've accepted that I can't pass. But so I walk out of my house and I'm an activist by my very existence. And I put my life in danger every time I leave my house. I've been harassed at Wawa, Giant, as I said, restaurants, walking down the street. And that's scary. Doesn't do good for my PTSD, I gotta tell you. A couple days ago, someone left a nicely neat tied tie on my windshield. And you might think, well, that's kind of innocuous. Well, but if you think of what a tie is traditionally viewed as, someone's sending me a message. I've had boxes of tampons left on my doorstep. Probably not with the intention to think I'm menstruating. Yeah. So I say that to say, if you have trans friends, at this point in the country's history, they are most at risk. I don't mean to be too depressing, but it's just the way it is. I can get refused medical care in many parts of this country because I'm trans. Which is absurd. Hippocratic oath. No, my religion says I don't accept trans people, so go die. It's weird. Barbaric, quite frankly. I want to play the pronoun game. I need 2 volunteers. I know you're all tired as hell and really want to get the hell out of here. I just need 2 people. You can even stay where you are. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, go ahead. Yeah. How do you identify? Pronoun.
She, her.
She, her. She, her. Okay. And what is your name, love?
Liz.
Liz?
Mickey.
Mickey. So, Liz, let's have a talk about Mickey. Isn't he great? I'm guessing he works really hard. And, when he goes home, I don't know, maybe pets a puppy, I don't know, likes chocolate, I don't know, but he's just a really great person. And I really love them as a coworker. They do a lot of advocacy in the world, and he's just great. If that happened to you all day, you'd be pissed and offended. Thank you, by the way.
It happens to me all.
It happens to you all the time. Happens to me all the time, too. I've trying to get Medicare and stuff like that, and every time I make a phone call to Social Security or anywhere, they say, well, hello, sir. I'm Jennifer. Okay, sir. People look at me, and I'll have a pin that says she, her, and they'll go, sir. And it just, some days it freaks me out, and I go home and hate myself more than usual, and other days I'm just like, whatever. How am I doing?
Good, you have 2.
2 minutes.
Yes.
Then I'm going to just leave it for questions.
Questions?
You can ask me anything. I give you all divine permission to ask me about surgeries, everything. Yes.
When you were questioned by a kid, do you understand that they don't understand, or
Oh yeah, I've never been offended by a kid, if that's what you mean.
How do you, sometimes the adult apologizes.
Yeah. It depends. I have to read that situation. Because I have had parents, when the kid asks, literally pull their kid away. Because they don't want that kid talking to me. I'm viewed as a threat somehow. So I was an elementary school teacher for 20 years. And I came out my last year of teaching a 4th grade. And my students were angelically sweet. So I just kind of let them, and it really depends on the parent situation. If I look at the parent and I say, then they'll let me talk. Other questions?
I have a question, I guess I'll load it though.
Loaded.
So like in the beginning, you were saying, like, asking us, like, how do you know you feel like a woman? How do you know you feel like a man? How do you know that you feel like a woman? Like, is there,
It's
like...
a great question. I don't know, I just feel like it. No. I love it. It's very intangible and mysterious. One day walking through the Wissahickon woods after being months of suicidal and confused, I was praying, and it was there. It was the most beautiful moment of my entire life so far. I love my 3 children. It's great when they were born. However, to know who I am, it's a feeling, but beyond a feeling. Because feelings are transient. Trans word. They shift. This is a knowing. And I would imagine most of you would just say that. I just know I am. I'm so glad you asked that question. Yes?
How old were you when you finally realized?
45.
I mean, as a young, because you said that people are born that way. Did you always know that?
I did not have there's a very common experience with trans people that they were born, that they feel like they were born a girl in a boy's body. I did not have that experience. I had no conscious clue. I can look back and see, wow, I played with my mom's clothes, earrings, perfumes. Not too personal, but I used to tuck my genitals in between my thigh and say, oh, that's what a vagina would look like. And I never put 2 and 2 together. I just was like, well, that's what I do. So it wasn't until I had a conscious clue that I had a conscious clue. And it was because I had a lot of abuse and trauma in my life. Yes?
So, when you were married, were you acting like a man?
Oh, yeah.
And do you feel like you have the same personality from when you were acting like a man to when you actually became trans?
That's a great question. I think so. I'm just as wacky. I use the same terrible dad jokes and puns. My kids just recognize me as the same person. I have changed in the sense of the ease of my being and how I walk through the world. But yeah, my heart hasn't changed a bit.
Right, so I'm just trying to figure out why people just stopped talking to you if you were.
Some people take it personally. They think I did this to them. You took away my brother. You took away so-and-so's favorite uncle. You did this to me. I didn't do that to you. Some people's, mainly because of their religious background, think I'm a sin, think I'm going to hell. And, you know, instead of doing what like Jesus would do and love them anyway, get the hell out of my life. You freak me out. However, I love being trans. Yes?
Yeah, I had a question. Just at what point explaining this to children to get them more, so they don't get swayed by all the bias and hatred growing up? Because I think not talking about it is just they're going to get taught to the world. The world's going to teach them how to treat people like you. And how do I prevent that as a parent?
Well, you prevent it as a parent by being an awesome parent. It starts with you. And the allies that were mentioned advocate for people like me in schools. If there's an elementary school kid that comes out as trans and they want to use a bathroom, advocate for that kid. Advocate at your places of worship, places of work. There are many books now. So I do volunteer and help run and help start the Saga Community Center. We have the only queer library in Montgomery County, 6 minutes from here. And we have a huge children's section of books about different genders and stuff like that. There's a great one called Marlo Bundy, which I highly recommend because it makes fun of certain administrations. We have resources for teens. We have resources for parents. Oh my gosh, my kid came out. We have resources for religious folk. Oh my gosh, I have this parishioner or this congregant who came out. What do I do? Because the rest of the church wants them out. So lots of resources there. We offer free support groups. We offer free activity nights like tonight, which allies are welcome. We play games. Some kids play D&D. It's all ages from like 6 to old people. Play air hockey. People try to beat me, and sometimes they do. We draw. We paint. We play video games, and we shoot the proverbial you-know-what. Eat really unhealthy snacks. And it's a safe, welcoming place. We also provide movie nights, where we show perhaps a queer movie, or we have like kid ones, like we watched Incredibles 2 last Thursday.
Awesome.
But we are getting more and more known. I've been on Vox, I've been on newspaper places, I've spoken at rallies, there's some articles written about me, and I always defer to Saga. I'd be dead if it wasn't for Saga and my place of worship. I just would. When I found that place, when I found the church 3 years ago, I brought a few flyers,
Right,
certainly
okay.
not enough, business cards, but it is 6 minutes away. If you drive down York Road, York and Horsham, you'll see the gay flag. You'll see the queer rainbow flag. That's us. And yes, please.
I just want to share, me being a lesbian woman,
Woo!
my girlfriend has 3 children. So when you say it starts at home and it starts with you and how you raise, my girlfriend had being with their dad and having 3 children and now seeing their mother dresses like a guy. She dresses like a guy now, and she has a girlfriend. So they say you're still beautiful, mom, whether you dress
Nice.
like. So it's how you are as a parent.
Yeah.
And who you bring around your kids, and we don't expose them to anything, and we don't do stuff, but they know, they get it, they know we love each other, and they love me, so it's
Thank
all
you.
about how you are going to.
Thank you. It saves lives. It literally saves lives. I'm really trying to pave the way for the younger ones. I don't know where the hell I'm going to live when I, get to be a really senior citizen, because it's hard to find places. Yes.
Can I just emphasize how important it is for parenting for like 2 more reasons? One is that LGBTQ folks don't receive sex education in schools.
Yeah.
Even the most liberal schools are not educating.
It's the gay agenda.
Right, it's part of that. And there are states where even mentioning the word homosexual is illegal
Yeah.
in schools, so that's very important.
Yeah.
And the other point was, on TV. So that's, where most kids learn from things anyway. There is not adequate representation of LGBTQ folks in any sort of media anywhere. And usually when there is, LGBTQ people are dying, or it's some sort of traumatic thing that's happening to them. There are very few representations of people leading their lives as LGBTQ folks on TV, or having some sort of normal, healthy sexual relationship where your children are going to learn that. So that's why it's so important for parents to parent.
And be careful what lesbian movies you watch, because they almost all have bad endings. Really.
Always.
Not always.
No,
I've seen some.
most lesbians get killed on TV.
I know.
That's true.
Yes.
Speaking of schools, do your kids get teased?
Well,
Do they
my
lose
kids
any
are
friends?
out of school now.
Okay, do they lose any friends?
No, it's kind of the opposite.
Okay.
I've had several young people come out to me. I've had adults come out to me. Kids are pretty much the best. And the principal, when I did come out, my kids were still in high school, a couple of them, and he called me and said, I want to make sure your kids aren't harassed. So let's work together. And he was awesome. And nobody did. Nobody harassed my kids. And I check in with my kids every couple months, like Father's Day. like when I first came out, the only question my kids had, all three of them, there was only one question. It was a middle son, Ben. He was probably, I don't know, he's like 15, 16. And he goes, do I have to buy you Mother's Day cards and Father's Day cards? Whatever. I see another hand, or I saw another hand. Okay. Yeah, it'll come to you at 3 in the morning. I can give you my number. You can call me up, text me. So I'm grateful to be here. I'm one of those people that know I'm an activist by the fact I walk out my door. I'm a teacher by trade, by vocation, so you can ask me anything. I give workshops at local libraries called Ask Me Anything. Anything you've ever wanted to know about a trans person but didn't know who or how to ask. I go to different churches. I go to schools. I've been invited to, all that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Is that it?
Okay.
I don't know how to finish.